You know how some entertainment just sort of sticks with
No,
you?
definitely. Some things just have that lasting power.
Well, today, we're doing a deep dive into a really memorable era, the golden age of game shows. Thinking roughly the 1950s through the 1980s?
Right, a huge period for television.
Exactly. For a lot of people, the TV was like the heart of the living room back then. And these shows, they were family staples,
Appointment viewing, really.
for sure. So our mission today, and we're drawing from some great excerpts from the golden era of game shows, Behind the Buzzers and the Glitz, is to really get under the skin of what made these shows so incredibly captivating.
And maybe why that magic, still feels kind of alive today.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, so thinking about that period, the 50s to the 80s, it's amazing how popular these shows became almost overnight, it seems sometimes. What do you think was the real core appeal? What grabbed people?
Well, based on our source material, it really seems to boil down to this fantastic combination of simplicity and accessibility.
Right, you didn't need a manual to understand them.
Not at all. You didn't need a PhD. It was often just about guessing prices of everyday stuff or what families thought about things, or sometimes just pure luck, making a deal.
That sense of, hey, I could do that, must have been huge.
Absolutely crucial, I think. You were right there with them, participating vicariously, feeling that excitement of maybe winning or, the disappointment of a near miss.
Right alongside the actual contestants on screen.
Yep.
And the shows themselves, the big ones.
Oh, the household names, yeah. Oh, like The Price is Right. You could totally picture yourself making those bids.
Mm-hmm.
Or Family Feud with all those sometimes really funny family answers.
Always good for a laugh, that one.
And just the sheer unpredictable fun of let's make a deal.
Mm.
You never knew what was behind that curtain.
Exactly. These weren't just TV programs, they felt like shared experiences.
They really were.
Yeah.
In a world that could feel pretty ordinary sometimes.
They offered a bit of an escape, didn't they? A chance to see someone, maybe someone just like you, potentially win, you know, big money or amazing prizes. That must have been incredibly exciting to watch.
Oh, totally. And you mentioned the shared experience that was massive, the water cooler chat the next day.
Was probably all about who won the showcase showdown or what crazy answer someone gave on Feud.
Right, okay, so we can see why this was such a phenomenon for viewers. But the book also really emphasizes the importance of the people leading the shows, the hosts.
Ah, yes. They weren't just reading questions off a card.
No way. They were real personalities, and they absolutely shaped the shows they were on.
That's such a key point. The host was often the glue, weren't they? Holding everything together.
Your guide through the game. Kind of the contestant's friend for a moment.
And the main engine of the show's energy, really. Think how different a show feels with a different host.
Totally different vibe. Like take Bob Barker, The Price is Right. For so many people, he was just this warm, reassuring figure.
But also totally in command of that stage.
Exactly. You trusted him, right?
Yeah.
Even when he was playfully giving a contestant a hard time for bidding, like $1 million on a dishwasher.
Yeah, that blend of geniality, but also, authority. He set the tone. Contestants felt comfortable, but they knew he meant business when it came to the rules.
Masterful. And then you contrast that with someone like Richard Dawson on Family Feud.
Oh, complete 180, yeah?
Richard Dawson, king of the quick quip, and of course, those, well,
Yeah.
let's call them enthusiastic kisses for the female contestants.
It was definitely a different time.
It certainly was. And I bet people watching back then had some strong opinions about that. But you can't deny his connection with the families.
No, his ability to draw out those sometimes brilliant, sometimes baffling survey answers it was a huge part of that show's appeal.
What do you think made that sort of sometimes edgy charm work so well?
I think he created this feeling of a slightly chaotic, but ultimately, good-natured family get-together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
His interactions weren't always predictable, and that element of surprise, plus just his genuine amusement at some answers, it really pulled viewers in.
And we absolutely have to mention Monty Hall. Let's make a deal.
The ultimate showman.
Right. Always that little mischievous twinkle in his eye, making those deals. Door number one, door number two.
Or the box. Don't forget the box. What do you remember most about his whole dynamic?
It was that constant tension, wasn't it? That risk versus reward. Should I take the sure thing or risk it for what's behind the curtain?
He played that so cleverly, always keeping you guessing, keeping the contestant guessing.
Yeah, the source really hits the nail on the head. These hosts were the absolute heartbeats of their shows. They became like familiar faces, part of the family almost.
Okay, so let's dig into some of the really cool details the source brings up. Those like mind-blowing facts and quirky things that show just how deeply these shows got woven into popular culture.
Oh, I love this stuff. Like Jeopardy. Did you know it actually premiered way back in this golden era?
Right, though the format was a bit different initially.
Yeah, slightly different, but still. And it holds the record for the most daytime Emmys ever for a game show. That says something about its quality and staying power, right?
Absolutely. And then there's The Price is Right. Its history is incredible. The original version started way, way back in 1956.
Wow, 56. I didn't realize it went back that far.
Yeah, it just shows how some concepts are just timeless, Which led to that massive revamp in 72 with Barker, who, let's face it, became the face of the show for decades.
He really did.
Yeah.
What is it about guessing prices? Why do you think that's kept people hooked for so long?
Well, it's universal, isn't it? We all shop, we all try to figure out value. It taps into something really basic and relatable.
That's true. And think about the phrases, the catchphrases these shows gave us.
Oh, yeah.
Come on down. I mean, even now, you hear that, you instantly picture The Price is Right, don't you?
Totally. They became part of the language, cultural shorthand.
Exactly. Not just lines from a show, but part of how people talked.
That's a great point. And speaking of memorable bits, Let's Make a Deal gave us the glory and the hilarity of the Zonk prizes.
Oh, the zonks.
Yeah.
Yes, trading a potentially great prize for something completely useless and bizarre.
That element of surprise, the risk of ending up with, like, a giant inflatable banana instead of a car,
Yeah.
that was pure entertainment gold. What did the Zonks add, do you think?
They just injected this wonderful sense of absurdity, didn't they? Kept it all fun and lighthearted.
Reminded everyone it was just a game.
Yeah, even if you walked away with a ridiculously oversized toothbrush, it was about having a laugh.
So all this reminiscing might be making some listeners feel a bit nostalgic.
I bet.
And the good news is, our source also has some great tips on how you can actually enjoy these vintage gems today.
That's right. It's not like they've vanished. Many of these classics are out there.
Yeah.
Streaming platforms are a fantastic resource.
Lots of archives available.
You can find old episodes of your favorites pretty easily and just dive back in. Have you revisited any classics recently?
I dip in now and then. And for something more, like, interactive, the book suggests hosting your own game show night.
Oh, I love that idea. That sounds like brilliant fun.
Right. Bring that golden era vibe right into your living room.
You could totally adapt the formats, make up silly prizes, have a great night with friends or family. Imagine a home version of Match Game.
That could get interesting. And for those who want to go a bit deeper, the source recommends checking out biographies of the hosts or maybe watching documentaries about that whole era of television.
Yeah, getting the behind-the-scenes scoop. That could give you a whole new appreciation for what went into making these shows. What part of the behind-the-scenes stuff do you think is most interesting?
I think the pressure, maybe, and just the sheer mechanics of pulling off a live or live-to-tape show like that every day.
Yeah, the production side. And for connecting with other fans, the book mentions online forums and discussion groups.
Still thriving communities out there for vintage TV fans.
It's a great way to share favorite moments, learn trivia you never knew, and just connect with people who love this stuff too. Have you seen some of those forums?
Oh, yeah, they're out there. And for the truly dedicated fans, there's always collecting vintage memorabilia.
Now you're talking. Imagine owning an original contestant badge from The Price is Right.
Or maybe one of those Family Feud survey question cards. A piece of actual TV history.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, let's think slightly outside the box for a second. Our source has a couple more creative ideas for engaging with this.
All right, let's hear them.
These are kind of fun. One suggestion is you could create your own virtual game show, maybe on social media.
Oh, interesting. Like adapt a classic format or invent your own and get your friends involved online.
Exactly. A modern twist on the old formats. Could be a laugh. Have you ever seen anyone try that?
I think I've seen quizzes and things, but maybe not a full-on virtual game show. Cool idea, though.
Right. And the other idea mentioned is visiting a game show museum. Now, obviously, that depends on if there's one accessible.
Yeah, they're probably not on every street corner.
No, but if you're a huge fan and you ever get the chance, imagine seeing the actual sets, the props, maybe one of Monty's trading coats up close.
That would be amazing for a real enthusiast. Okay, so as we start to kind of wrap up this deep dive, what would you say is the main takeaway from looking back at this golden era?
I think the source really drives home that these shows were much more than just, simple entertainment filling airtime.
Right. They had a deeper impact.
For so many people, they were real cultural touchstones. They brought folks together, they celebrated ordinary people getting a shot at something extraordinary.
Yeah, putting everyday people on TV was still kind of novel then.
Exactly. And they just became a massive part of the collective experience. Their impact on TV is, well, it's undeniable.
Absolutely. You can still see the DNA of these classics in so many game shows today, can't you?
Oh, definitely. They really laid the groundwork. What elements do you think have really carried over?
Well, the core things.
Right.
Suspense, that audience participation feel even if you're at home.
Oh, and that crucial dynamic between the host and the contestants, that chemistry.
Yeah, that's still key. It really shows how well crafted those original games were.
It does. It speaks to the enduring appeal.
So as we conclude our look back at the golden era of game shows, it's pretty clear these weren't just like fleeting moments on TV.
Not at all.
They were a really vibrant, really engaging part of cultural history, packed with charm, excitement, and some truly unforgettable personalities that lots of us still remember fondly.
Yeah, whether you actually grew up watching them religiously or you're just discovering them now through reruns or streaming,
Yeah,
there's a real joy there, isn't there?
there really is.
Experiencing that slice of television history. It was a unique kind of fun that, as we've seen, still holds a pretty significant place in our collective memory.
Okay, and that brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. Thinking about all this charm, the excitement, the cultural impact we've discussed, what specific elements of these vintage game shows do you think still resonate so strongly today? And why do you reckon they still hold a certain kind of magic, even with everything else competing for our attention now? Yeah, what makes them stick? Exactly. Something to ponder. Yeah. Maybe while you decide which classic episode to queue up next.